So, welcome to the first episode of Haramcore Inc. I'm Siddharth.
I'm Shaunak.
And I'm Rohit.
And let's do this, man. This is the first time we're doing a podcast. We're trying to do a fortnightly podcast that trawls through the subculture of all things heavy in the country, the subcontinent, and the globe, in that specific order. Our discussions will range from informal music reviews, some op-ed style dissection of news in the metal and hardcore community, to some animated group banter with guests over a beer or two. Cheers, guys. From bullet-belted Satanists to gent dudes with neck tattoos, none of y'all are going to be spared. It's time to tune in and take the edge off, because things are about to get loud and heavy. Let's discuss. So this is the first segment where the three of us are going to do some chit-chat on things that we've come across. Let's just start with how Haramcore Inc. has come into being.
Yeah.
So basically, we were just a Facebook group that shared memes and just trolled a lot and shared a lot of bullshit.
Yep.
And
of course, shared music.
And once in a while, yes, we also shared music. Yes. And that turned into a WhatsApp group. And the WhatsApp group shared a lot of voice notes, and we tried to use that to make a podcast. But nothing really seemed organic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we've come here. So we are at the Fun House, thanks to Mr. Vrashank of Death by Fungi. So I think let's start with a little bit of introduction on all of us here, right now.
Okay, relevant to the podcast. I play in a band called False Flag. Yeah, and we play hardcore, crust punk, screamo, all that sort of shit. If you are really into music, you'll understand what we play by listening to our record, which is on Bandcamp, by the way.
Yep.
And
Christmas release.
Yeah, Christmas release.
Santa was last to all of you.
Connect with Rohit Chaoji on Facebook.
Or look up to him. I don't know. Word order depends.
Your turn. Go for it.
Okay, I am Shaunak. I play in False Flag with Rohit.
Shaunak likes watermelons.
Mathematician.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
not a mathematician, by the way. Please.
He's the mathematician of ambient waters.
He is better at mathematics than 95% people So yeah, he is technically a mathematician according to laymen.
That is a myth.
He's a mathematician and he's not in a gent band. Can you believe that? Of course you can believe that.
Yeah,
Because mathematicians would be wise enough to not be in a gent band.
Yeah, and mathematicians, they're not computers, they know numbers.
They understand difference between discreteness and continuity.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now that's what I call a bio.
Yep.
And yeah, coming back to me, I'm the asshole in the group. My name's Siddharth. You probably know me as a dozen things right now. I'm a part of Tadpatri Talkies. Where I am...
Garibi!
Yes. Where I play this character called Garibi. I have a band called Pacifist. But yes, you will be meeting a lot of our friends and we'll be having a lot of guests. And we'll be having a lot more fun with eventual editions. And I hope that you guys enjoy this one. Let's discuss. Playing music has turned into the Olympics. So with countless bands and musicians in the past few years chasing musical mastery over their instruments to the point of being utterly immemorable, has this race turned off listeners as much as it has musicians themselves? Is a return to roots that is keeping it as simple as possible the way forward? For example, like with Ghost. So what do you guys think?
Playing as if it's a competition, it's kind of deteriorated the quality of music in general, but there has to be a middle ground where you can compose complex music and it still remains interesting. And I think that's a perfect way of making... No, I wouldn't say it's a perfect way of making music because there's a lot of simple stuff that's really good. But if someone wants to make something that's challenging to listen to or play, it's possible to do that without it just looking or sounding like a technical exercise.
Right.
So a lot of musicians, they kind of get carried away and they forget that they're making music for someone who's not just them.
Right.
No, and it should be pretty clear that musicianship doesn't equate to skills and skillsmanship. These two are very closely related, but not the same thing.
Right.
And that's what one has to remember when writing songs. like such as this. Like you can make very complex music, you can be very technically adept and stuff, but you don't have to make, you don't have to show off those skills. For like the best example of this is band like Sadistic Execution, whose members are extremely talented when it comes to their instruments, but they make the sloppiest music possible, and in that context, it's great, right?
Yeah, like have you guys ever dug bands like Watchtower or Spastic Inc, for example?
I mean, I was listening to that Watchtower album, I forgot, but they have a song called Mayday in Kiev.
Okay.
And it has some of the most amazing guitar solos, technically and melodically. They're the most amazing guitar solos I've heard. But it doesn't seem like I'm listening to something that's just meant for a shredder to appreciate.
Right.
So it's a balance that they have struck over there that is between technical skill and enjoyability when it comes
it's also Jarzombek's maturity as a musician.
Yeah, definitely. I would say so. But I don't know if maturity as a musician always matters, because you know the example of Malmsteen and Michelangelo.
Okay, when I say maturity, maybe it doesn't have to do with actual age. I'm just saying, like, in terms of like restraint, in terms of choosing to make certain decisions with how you write
as
stuff.
A musician.
As a musician. Because how I feel about it is that, I'll go back to the core reason why I've even picked this topic is that you've got the Indian band starter pack. So, and they focus on very specific things. Like we can actually write these things down, as bullet points, and everyone will see it. That you need to own like some exotic 7-string model of guitar, maybe with fan frets or whatever. You'll own an Axe-Fx or some expensive, digital modeling rack unit or something like that. And basically you'll try to like outplay every damn fucking thing you've heard and assimilated in the last 3-4 years of being of being a musician, like as a listener. And it just reaches a point of where you're just playing for nobody but yourself, or maybe you're just playing to other bands, but they've never accounted for the fact that there's a lot of guys out there who want to probably get into local music, but if the examples that you're going to provide is going to be fucking so tough to comprehend and like just enjoy in general, like there's no flow to, I don't know, it's a very feel-based thing. Maybe some guys get a feel for it more than we do. But I think the only band that from India that has managed to balance technicality with a good a craft of writing good songs has to be Eccentric Pendulum. And I really hand it to them because I've been following them ever since they put out their EP.
I think I would take the name of Orchid in the same breath.
Orchids, so you realize there's a lineage right there.
Yeah.
Because it's Bangalore, and Bangalore's been like actually pushing that aspect really well in their scene locally. Whereas I find like a lot of Bombay bands end up chasing the same damn things. Like they're all writing complicated parts and they're going, from that to a breakdown, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, Zignema still, they keep it simple and it works. The general audience enjoys it. Right? And they keep that listenership in mind. Another more recent band that comes to mind is Primitive. Primitive's riffs are so, it's the best way I can describe it is like Nola meets like slowed down death metal maybe.
Yeah, my description was exactly the same when I heard them. It's like stoner metal with growls.
Exactly, It's very down influence for sure, because I know Raj is a huge down fan. So like that kind of shows through in their writing as well. And the thing is, they write really hook driven, like catchy, riffy music, and that can appeal to like your non-mosh crowd as well. Like because Primitive is not a mosh band. You can very easily fall into the trap of like, public ko mosh chahiye, so we should supply mosh.
Right.
Like instead of that, they just chose something so fresh for the listeners.
I think that's a great point. Like public ko mosh chahiye, so will supply mosh. That's the kind of
attitude,
trap and attitude that most of I think Bombay bands got caught up in like last 3-4 years, where every song will build up and then there'll be one part
Yeah,
which will
even
be the
bands
mosh
who
part.
probably weren't really intended to be mosh friendly, they end up having mosh parts or breakdown parts. For example, I'll give a few years ago when I heard this band Atmosphere, for example. They're like, okay, they have some elements of death metal which I can recognize as being death metal, but they suddenly have those moshy and breakdowny parts which feel like, okay,
you get confused.
Yeah.
You know, I think the most unique perspective we have about this as audiences is because we've all not been in Bombay all this while.
Oh yeah.
The three of us are actually Pune guys, no?
Yeah.
So we are proper observing from afar types.
Yeah.
Like, and we have seen the change. So I'll say the same thing about Demonic Resurrection. Sahil, I don't know, but Sahil probably will have to comment on this himself. So I'm sure like there are songs that Sahil has written where he's like, nahi, yahan pe breakdown dena chahiye. So what will the audience do now? They'll get bored. And he has intentionally kept a breakdown. Sahil, don't lie to me. If you're hearing this, you have to tell me, answer this question and like, you know, make it clear to your Bombay audience, which you know loves its breakdowns and they love their fucking mosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming back to like the songwriting aspect of it. So I guess more bands need to chase, you know, bigger, higher ideals than just being a like ऐसा हाँ मतलब विसर्जन मत बनो यार तुम लोग गणपति विसर्जन थोड़ी ना तुम लोग don't be the nuclear of metal, like just cater to one damn fucking thing. Like you have to be better writers, and I think that's a very, it's a pitiful condition in terms of like how ignored writing has been for bands.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, also they don't have anything to look up to, right? That's
also true.
That will push them to like really focus on this aspect, this very important and negligent. Oh, sorry.
If you got examples of bands doing great writing, then you'll always have guys who will want to break the mold and defy and like you know be better than what they could be. So yeah, I think that's a good point to conclude on.
Also, I think another interesting thing that I've observed now is this lot of great guitarists and so this whole emphasis on skillsmanship has given birth to these internet musicians, right? Where the whole point of that music is that guitar, right?
Correct.
For example, you have musicians like Sarah Longfield and people like that who make music for the internet, and the sole focus is that guitar. And then you lose out so much on songwriting aspects. It's sad. And I think in the next couple of years, that's what's going to be... No, but
you realize that it comes from a certain perspective where they are actually making this music for other aspiring guitarists. Because that is their audience. Their audience is guys who want to also start their own channels and like, you know, start playing covers, like start with that and then maybe start doing some original music or maybe do some meme type stuff like Jared Dines or something. I mean, everyone's out there trying to figure out what suit works for them. So that is their actual audience. The aspiring audience is their audience. It's not maybe listeners like you and I who are actually looking for something fresh or new or from maybe coming from a slightly more I don't know what better word to use, but journalistic point of view. We actually trying to discover new sounds and like, you know, be curious. I don't think that's the same background that they have in terms of their listenership.
And you have to answer the question whether you want to be a guitarist or a musician. That's the difference between. That's the difference between those.
Are you playing guitar because you like guitar music, or are you playing guitar because you want to make music that has guitar in it?
Yeah. There's a huge difference between that. But yeah, kya hoga, kya malum, like when will bands stop like emulating?
Chasing, I know.
Yeah. Same thing.
That happens. It's a cycle. It'll come and ebb and flow hoga uska.
I hope like, you know, things like Dillinger Escape coming and performing or like Immolation coming and performing kind of like propels it in a nicer direction. I hope.
You know, international bands coming to perform doesn't really change the local scene much.
Yeah. Oh yeah, ODB had an essay about it.
Depends. Okay.
Yeah.
What were his points? I don't remember.
The point that he's making, he in bigger bands coming to India is not going to change the scene or like improve the scene at all. Because it's ultimately the musicians in the scene
who make a difference.
Yeah.
True. Okay, let's just do reproduce. Let's talk reproduce actually.
Okay.
New topic, fresh topic. Let's just do that one for now.
I think reproduce is awesome. Like,
yeah, dude.
if you're making music that's
Doesn't have a like a huge listenership maybe.
yeah, or any music that's like interesting, then Rana will be like, oh dude, yeah, you wanna play, come and play.
True, he's very open to
and accepting all sorts of sounds.
It's very inclusive.
Yeah. And
True.
And it's especially good because he himself is into that kind of music.
Right.
It's not.
He knows where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it's not like, ठीक है, interesting lag raha hai, and I don't know what this is about, but yeah, let's get this person on. It's not like that. He knows the kind of music he's getting into his getting in his shows, and yeah, and that's how he works, and it's pretty good because you know that there's at least one organizer who's ready to put in the effort to get all sorts of music recognized.
A sort of music that nobody would actually
Yeah.
get
Otherwise
on the
like
stage.
bother about.
Yeah. It's a great
But
thing.
I'll tell you what I really find commendable about Rana's work with Reproduce is his inclusivity is his greatest factor, which means artists of any level of experience or cadre, so to speak, are all accepted.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's not limited to just certain cliques or hubs in India, for that matter.
Yeah.
He's really pushing it to make it like happen in places like Varanasi, in Indore, in Leh, I heard.
Yeah. Reproduce Leh.
Yeah, because Sister was part of it and all. Yeah. But yeah, so coming back to that, I think that is his greatest strength.
Yep.
But what I also feel is that, these gigs suffer from an actual lack of people showing interest.
Yeah.
And showing up, because I remember the last
Because
Reproduce
it's
gig I
costly
played.
to set up shows.
I know, and I mean it's kind of sad because I was discussing this with Bhanuj the other day during the Reproduce gig which I played. Like, people don't have a lot of interest in discovering new music through shows.
Right.
So that used to be a thing.
Yeah. So like, for example, the show I played, there were literally 2 people who showed up. 2 paid entries that showed up. The rest were all the other performers and the organizers.
Got it.
That's all. And that's because I don't think I had heard of any of the other artists that were playing.
Tends to be the case.
And I think someone who had, I'm pretty sure there might be many people who had no idea about any of the artists playing.
True.
So they're like, okay, is it worth spending that much money to go and experience someone if we don't know what the fuck they're doing? So it's kind of a thing that people are no longer into discovering new music through shows. So that's why shows like Reproduce don't get a lot of audience.
Right.
But
So
I don't
it's
know.
not about the money, right? I mean, the shows are like what, $300?
Yeah,
per
it's
ticket,
pretty
and
cheap.
that's in 2018 when most gigs ask
I
for
know.
like $700.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
And
No, for sure. I'm a huge fan of the 300 model because what used to be the 100 rupee model is now the 300 rupee model.
But I think shows like Reproduce would be more popular in smaller cities than in Mumbai or Bangalore.
I am very curious actually
Because-
of how it is received.
Yeah, because in Mumbai you get a lot of shows, and even if not
It's
independent
fatigue.
music shows,
It's so much fatigue.
Even if not independent music shows like rock or metal or something, you get a lot of
Choose from.
live
Yeah.
music
Choose.
happening anyway.
Yeah, live music.
You get shit to choose from.
Right.
That makes you spoiled, and that's going to be the case. And I'll tell you what my experience with Reproduce was, because it was very vastly different from yours. Because Pacifist was playing, and obviously it was our first show, so a lot of crowd turned up to watch us. Obviously, and once again, they were all friends and well-wishers mostly. It's not like we had a real listenership that came, because we don't really have music out yet. It was a trial gig. Like, we were also going on stage to figure out shit. Right. So we had our crowd. There was TNS, who's signed to Azadi, great rapper. So he also had his set, and he had a couple of people show up for him as well. So like I was saying, so Drill and Mallow came on stage and they were playing this whole field recording that was manipulated to play to a live audience. And the audience, obviously, there were people who turned up for TNRs, there were people who turned up for us, and they couldn't get it. And if you are going to, basically do what you like, that's fair. This comes back to the original point that we were making about bands that do too much technical wankery. So there is technical wankery, and then there is artistic wankery.
Yeah.
You realize that?
Yeah.
So when is your general audience going to be able to appreciate a reproduced show? And I'll be very frank, the other reproduced show that I attended, everyone was in their phone, man.
Really?
There were maybe 10 people.
Okay.
And they were all checking their phone and they were just like casually chilling there. I mean, sure, you can do that as well. But is reproduce the right place to do it? Maybe not. I don't know.
Like the checking phone wala bit reminds me like if it's like an ambient actor.
Yeah,
you can't watch the act, right?
Right,
the performance aspect isn't there.
Right.
Per se.
Right.
So it's more about like creating the mood or vibe and you can just chill there. That's the kind of thing you can expect from that sort of music.
Right.
What I have observed is like this, the thing that you talked about, like Drill and Malo did like a field recording thing, and then TNS was a rapper, and then Pacifist is a
hardcore band.
Yeah. This is very, it causes dissonance in your head. Like
True.
As a person who is going to be in the audience, this is weird for them.
True.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to be thought about as well.
I know.
It was pretty much the same with the show I played recently. It was me and Akshay doing some noisy shit. And then there was this group called Rak, hip hop group.
Okay.
Tamil hip hop group.
I heard.
Yeah. They were not bad at all. Then there was this electronic artist, and then there was this pianist.
Okay.
So that was a weird combination. But yeah, the different...
It always is, trust me, dude.
Yeah.
Now I've learned that of reproduces, that it always will be a weird combination.
Yeah. So
And
not everybody will be engaged with all the acts. That's one thing.
That's fair. Everyone has a right to choose what they want to watch and be entertained by.
Right.
But I'm just coming from a point where you literally have to build your own audience, man.
Yeah.
Like if these artists are playing reproduce and expecting people to show up to watch them just because they're playing reproduce, I think it's they must be like their assumption is wrong.
Right.
And it's a little bit of a multifaceted problem in the sense that obviously yes, reproduce is accepting they're going to get a lot of new artists, but the new artists also need a chance to basically find a new audience. Right. But the new audience also needs to give a chance to the artist.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing central to all of this is maybe the promotions that run for shows needs to probably, I don't know, break some kind of new ground.
Right.
Or Rana's got a reproduce group on Facebook which has like thousands of people now on it. I mean, he's built a great community, yes. But to sustain that community, to keep getting continual, basically turnouts, to build a dedicated audience that's going to show up no matter what. I think the fact that now it's a residency and it's a weekly program makes it a little difficult for it to be that committed an audience.
Yeah,
exactly. And you can't expect the same people to show up again.
Nahi
frequent
of
a gig series or something.
Right. It's very difficult. So, but the great thing that I think has come out of all of this is, yes, there's a lot of pitfalls to what has happened, in the sense that artists will end up playing to nobody but artists themselves.
Yeah.
Or maybe their friends. But on the other hand, because Reproduce is doing this, now I'm noticing listening room as a word has now spread as programming to other venues in Bombay as well.
Right.
So everyone has listening shows now.
Yeah.
So, I remember Dreamar played a gig. I forgot the name of the venue. Dreamar's a great artist, of course.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, he's doing some great synthwave, retrowave kind of shit. And he played a listening room style gig at a different venue in Bombay. And I think now even the Revolver Club is doing a listening room. because they had one happened very recently with Jumblu, which I accidentally turned up for.
What do you think of Jumblu?
I see, and I went through the same emotion I went through the day Drill and Mallow went on stage. It's fine, like they're they're just improvising, they're doing something. Like, and does that something really make me feel anything? That is what music is, no, ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any context about Jamlu's craft, then it can sound like
nonsense. Because I turned up randomly for that show and I just was told that Jamlu's great. I look, okay. God forbid if Reproduce won't function in the same capacity, then there will be another one to replace them. Because now it's established that at least these gigs happen and they must happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are other people willing to take up that mantle. So I think Rana's unlocked something really, really huge there.
Right.
And I think it's great that, okay, fine, at least it will inspire people to pick up a synthesizer or, to pick up making electronic music in a very organic manner.
Yeah.
So that is another great factor, because I personally love a lot of Aphex Twin and ambient works and all of that.
Right.
So it's great. At least maybe right now I might not see quality in terms of the actual composition. There's not maybe that much output that maybe I'm expecting to see or hear and enjoy as a listener. But if the groundwork for it is laid out now, maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you'll actually have someone quality coming out of here. Say on the lines of, I don't know, some carbon-based life forms, or I don't know, Telephone Tel Aviv, or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that will blow your mind.
A lot of these artists actually do have that kind of potential.
I hope. I really hope.
So far. Yeah. I mean, you can also, now that I said that, you can draw comparison with so far gigs as well. You can
Listening
have a case study of so far gigs and Reproduce gigs.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting comparison.
But so far doesn't deal with obscure as much as they don't actually.
It's more contemporary, right?
Yes, and it's much more accessible. It's much more general audience friendly, and the fact that they drive RSVPs so that they get enough people to show up for the event.
Yeah.
Make sure that they get a booked audience. So no matter who the artist is, I mean, usually tends to be a fairly popular artist.
Yeah.
And it will be packed. Because so far is ultimately an international property. They have standards to live up to. So they're not going to...
Did they always start like that?
I don't think so.
They had that RSVP model pehle se kya?
That is true. I'm sure.
Interesting.
I'm sure. They must be invite only since the beginning only. I'm sure.
So yeah, at least in conclusion, I think Reproduce should build this listener community, very dedicated niche listener community.
But the issue with that is again the whole clusterfuck of styles that Reproduce has.
That's something to be.
Yeah, it's hard to get a listener community
dedicated.
A dedicated listener community, especially if you have a whole variety of different styles coming into your shows.
Yeah, do you remember the first False Flag gig? What was that lineup? We played with a rapper, then there was some guy who was doing drum and bass out of it.
Then there was Apoorv.
That's pretty much
and then there was us.
Yeah.
Which gig was this?
This was a Reproduce listening venue at Antisocial.
Antisocial Bay? When was this? Fuck.
November 2016.
When Modi banned Paisa.
Oh,
उसके 2 दिन बाद.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know of this also.
Yep.
My goodness.
So the kind of crowd that we saw that day was obviously we
abysmal.
I saw 10 of Kamran's friends.
That's going to happen.
So my point is that the audience was probably very clueless about what was happening on stage when False Flag was performing. Because before that,
and it was yeah, Kamu. Okay, that's his friends definitely.
Cool. So that was good. But uske pehle, those people had seen say Cowboy and Silverman performed, Sparkle and Fate performed, and all of these electronic artists performed. This was a weird transition for them.
Yeah.
No, I sense that. Yeah.
And it ended with something Sawhorse.
Chow has a good point that unless you curate maybe certain styles, at least to a certain degree where you have a dedicated audience,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why all these extreme metal guys stick together.
I know.
Right.
That's what I was about to say. Like, that's the reason why gigs like Bangalore Open Air or even a smaller gig like Trendslaughter Fest, they they easily go above,
Right.
above breaking even.
Right.
Because they know the kind of people who will attend their shows, and they know that there'll be a lot of regulars.
And they have invested enough to build that crowd of regulars.
Yeah.
Because now they can manage their expectations as well.
Right.
It's not a shot in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think when it comes to reproduce, probably quality more than quantities could be like a game changer.
Yeah, and more than that, to get a regular audience, I guess it would be like if someone is expecting ki, okay, if I go to a reproduce show, I can expect something like this. Then you might get someone who would keep returning to your shows.
Right. Very true.
But it's also now it's a tight knit spot, because most of the times you'll walk into a reproduce, there'll be some. I mean, I have rarely seen like a very a terrible artist perform at
Yeah,
reproduce.
that's true.
So if you walk into a reproduce, you will have something to take
Yeah.
back. But again,
Tastes and
that and
temperaments.
And the crowd is very low. So I don't know if the first impression that the audience gets itself is like this, right? But there's a clusterfuck of lineup and not many people showing up. Then why should I come here again? Maybe that's what audiences think.
Yeah.
So
no, and I can boil it down to the very simple fact that people want to have a good time.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. So how does one have good time at, say, an ambient performance? Is probably that's something the ambient guys need to figure.
Yeah.
And maybe they could come together and do it. It doesn't even have to be reproduced. Maybe they could do something together. I think that DIY spirit bands still have, but these artists need to still develop, I guess.
I mean, your example of Dreamer doing that listening room is what they could pick up. Like these couple of ambient artists maybe do a listening room and like one of their houses, and people invite people and they'll showcase what they've done. That kind of a thing can be going. But when it comes to bands, that can't happen. We have several different problems.
Yeah, we have needs also.
Yeah.
Which I also spoke to Rana about. Like, it's different to have a simple setup for electronic musicians and they can do their stuff and it'll be fine. But bands need a lot of backline and there's works, there's monitors, there's backline. You need to have a good PA sound. You need to make sure, and you actually need to have some degree of turnout. Otherwise, it's just a room of reverb.
Yeah, that's true.
Which
That's
is terrible.
What happened at that badminton court wala gig.
That was that. That's because the venue is also such. It's full of reverb.
Exactly.
Badminton courts are the worst places, in terms of acoustics.
Yeah.
I miss that show.
I am pretty sure Ashish didn't turn his reverb pedal on in the dirt set.
Natural reverb.
Yeah.
He was lost in it.
All thanks to Jesus.
Yeah, I heard about that. Alright, so this is our next segment called the Beatdown. So basically, this is where we are not going to spare anyone. This is going to be upright, us providing opinion and us providing perspective. This is purely, this is our opinion. So, whatever, fuck off, man. I mean, if you don't like it, then just go home, man.
Yeah, basically pause.
No, but it's cool because, you know what, we're entitled to one because it's our show. Fuck you.
If you are a false, don't entry.
Okay, so here's how this one goes. So, Mumbai band Leviathan releases a new single and we'll let you know how that song is. And
spoiler alert, it's bad.
Yeah, so this is their official lyrics video, okay?
Yeah, what is the song about?
So I'll tell you exactly what the song is about, which the band has also posted, okay? So basically, this song is about, okay, this is the actual poster. When the sun turns black, when light turns to pale, the evil around us, the evil around rises to fight against good for dominance. This fight plays an important role to improve the good, to make it pure. there lies this black faith, which stands for the equilibrium in the world. Because we all know where there is dark, there is light. Where there is good, there is evil. The god, the demons. I think he just wants to say that. Kya bolte hai?
I'll tell you what.
I'm still as confused.
No, I'll tell you exactly what this is. This is a very convoluted metaphor for yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharat. That's what this is.
What?
That is exactly what this is.
Okay, now conspiracy theory time. What is this about?
Arey dude, haven't you all heard that Mahabharat wala line? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharat. So basically Krishna is telling Arjun that जब ये धर्म संकट में आता है तभी like I come back to save the world. So like when evil rises, that's when the good fights the evil so that the good wins. So they are probably saying something like evil exists so that the good can like become like exert its power and restore balance. Like
he's actually genuinely trying to say something here. It's not a joke also. Now that you mentioned that, there. So but
you might have something going there.
I like how he pulled out this point because it comes from a very local Indian perspective.
Yeah.
You never know, man. That could be true. I mean, God alone knows whoever wrote this from that band is probably coming from such a space. Because now that you mentioned that, like, where he's saying that if there is dark, there will be light and all that. Like, I thought he's just talking about binaries in life. But that didn't make any sense about what this black faith that he's talking about. But maybe black faith is like his Illuminati or something.
That's one thing I'm still confused about.
I mean, that's an open question.
No, from your theory, I think this black faith is like this Illuminati type cult that is trying to fight the evil in the world or something. So
no, I think black faith is that
like
faith
Illuminati
that
supposed
evil
to be
comes out
evil.
so that evil like plurges out and then
the good stuff will happen.
Isn't like Illuminati supposed to be evil or something? I'm not sure.
Is it supposed? I don't know. Are the lizard people evil?
Let's ask the lizards. Are there any?
I mean, like, I think we've heard enough of the song also.
Yeah, it's like too much for me to handle.
Yeah.
So too much brutality.
Too much brutes.
No, lyrics are a treat though.
नहीं वो कहना क्या चाहते हो वाला बहुत problem है with the. So you realize one thing. So this is a point that even Chao made about Brazilian bands and what they have to say.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like you can sometimes, for the most part, you can get what they're trying to say, even if you're laughing while reading the lyrics. But yeah,
dude, most thrash metal lyrics are fucking stupid.
Tends to be the case.
It's just so bad.
Tends to be the case. But yeah, now talking about more serious things. So the problem here that we can see here is like, is this really the best that we have to offer, like in terms of like newer music? And have we gotten so lazy as bands that we don't care beyond emulating certain sounds just and like getting away with it? And why do we not? I think all of our discussion is connecting back that why don't we put half as much effort in listening, writing music and lyrics as we ought to?
Yeah.
And, these are the questions that need answering.
Right. I mean, also this, I can't help but bring this up. Like, this band says that this song was written in 2013. And 5 years is a long, long time for self-reflection and like going over material and improvement and like writing and rewriting.
Absolutely.
This cannot be what you can come up with in 5 years time. Please do not. Like,
maybe it's like they recovered like an old hard disk or something. Oh wow, there's a song from 5 years ago.
Oh shit.
Let's release this. I forgot this existed. Let's release this.
Or maybe, the bands also go through that whole production hell na. Like, ये एक mix किया नहीं, ये सही नहीं है. अभी दूसरा किया, वो भी सही नहीं है. चलो, we'll take it to some other guy. ऐसा करते करते like पूरा मतलब तीर्थ यात्रा करके आते हैं.
That's actually likely, especially if the engineer is a member of the band.
Possible. Very possible. Is this veiled insult at someone?
No, it's not a veiled insult. It's just an observation that
it tends to be the case. I agree.
It tends to be the case because when we were speaking to Shravan, he mentioned this, that if you're writing your own music, there'll be points where you'll be like, nah, this isn't good enough. Let's change this. And that'll keep happening for like 50, 60 times till it's already been like 2 or 3 years since you've written the song.
Nah, this is bullshit I've gone through personally as a band also. But yeah, I think that could have also been the case why this band has been like they've written this in 2013, but it came out in 2018. 5 years, and you can smell how old it is. Like it is like sad gaya hai bhencho.
Yeah, I remember. It takes me back to the days when I used to attend shows in Pune and all bands used to sound the same.
Like, that is something that all of us have gone through, where all your bands sound the same in the lineup issue. Like obviously, they come and go. A lot of these bands have come and gone, and possibly even this band will come and go. You never know. But if they, like I said, coming back to the important bit, that if we stop being so lazy as to just aisa sound karega to mast lagega, no. Like, and if we just leave it there, and this is again coming to not just writing music, but even the lyrics. Good Lord, if you like, the biggest problem that Indian bands have is they don't know what to write about.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have anything to say.
Yes.
They have nothing to say.
Absolutely nothing. कुछ नहीं है.
क्या चूतिया बना रहे हम लोग? What the fuck are you trying to say? Wait, we're going to have a good session on like reading Indian band lyrics out.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great idea. But yeah, this is a topic of discussion unto itself. Like Indian like musicians and their lyrics.
Like, do you all have
like,
nothing to
I
say?
I would rather listen to instrumental albums.
Yeah.
And they tend to be the case like where people just want to fucking abhi boss wala part aa gaya bas lyrics ki maa ki chut kuch nahi chahiye lyrics.
Lyrics kya? The rest of the song ki maa ki boss wala part aa gaya.
Like it'll go back to that only.
Like, do you write the breakdown and then write the rest of the song around it, or what do you do? What is happening?
I think we've made our issues with breakdowns like way too, and that too coming from hardcore bands, like where breakdowns are like supposed to be the norm. But yeah, I mean, if you can't write lyrics in English, you know what? Adapt. You can still write in other languages. I mean, Shaunak's writing stuff in like Hindi and Marathi now for False Flag.
But yeah,
why should you not?
Better not get fucking Warwan or something like
please.
that.
Of course. I mean, that will also be the case. You will have guys who will intentionally try to make, Hindi versions of bands that they are already into.
Warwan.
I mean, sure, like they have the space to exist. They can do all that.
Yeah.
But can you genuinely try to make the music that you love and find a distinctive identity and personality, and also be confident enough to write in whatever language that you are comfortable in?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of bands that we listen to that write, that talk and write in like foreign languages that we are not aware of.
Yeah.
That we don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, like the best example, what is Sigur Rós? Sigur Rós is like, it's not even Icelandic, it's gibberish. They've invented a language.
Oh, yeah, like Cocteau Twins.
Also that. Cocteau Twins are like completely like, it's all ad-lib.
Yeah, it's just vocalization.
It's vocalization, that's the word for it. Yeah, vocalization.
And it sounds great. They use vocals as an instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of grind bands for that matter.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you've seen early Napalm Death performances where, especially the one that went viral, where they appeared on, I forgot which British show. They appear on a British show, which is like a your talk
BBC tape session or something.
Yeah, John Peel's session.
Yeah, John Peel sessions.
I'm not sure if it was John Peel or not. So you were the host and everything, and like they're done performing, and he's like, you guys write such deep and like really poignant lyrics about like the state of living and like anti-commercialism and all of that. And like, why is it that when you go on stage and when you perform, it's all just noise and like just like it just gets lost in all of that? And how is your audience going to be able to appreciate such fine lyrics? And he reads it out, and it's like really like deep stuff. And he's like, yeah, but it's about the intensity. It's what I'm thinking in my head. It's not what I'm saying.
Achha.
I'm just thinking about those lyrics in my head, and I'm just giving a performance right there on the spot. Like it's improv. It's essentially improv.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from grindcore for like the fans. Like they know, like they know it.
Yeah.
Like they're not there to like sing the lyrics with the band. I mean, you've got rock bands for that.
Arena rock band.
Yeah, arena rock band specifically. Yeah, like they're also like they have their own thing.
The first couple of Anal Cunt albums did not have any lyrics.
Any lyrics, dude?
I don't think Anal Cunt
so
ever
many
really
bands.
had any lyrics.
They did have.
Like, seriously.
There are so many bands that will still admit that they've never had any lyrics, and I'm sure a lot of Indian bands will like feel ashamed, but they will also testify. I'm looking at you, Aditya Barve. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like a gray area when it comes to actually using your lyrics for aesthetic purposes, and then your performance is something else altogether. But yeah, if it's not your strong point, then either delegate, find a better guy to do your writing, or just like, write in a language you're comfortable in. Why?
Just research stuff and write about it.
Like, also true.
If you like, it's sad that you have nothing, like you want to make music, so probably there is something that you want to express, right? Because art ultimately is expression,
right?
Yeah.
But like, why can't you like find what you want to like say? It shouldn't be lazy.
It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
If you want to actually do this, that shouldn't be a problem. That you don't know what you want to say.
I mean, then it's like an existential crisis.
Yeah. Unless you just want to do posturing, you want to look a particular way and do particular things and like, have long hair and like be a rebel. And that is the case with a lot of people for whom it's a phase. It comes and goes in life, and they'll get jobs and they'll whatever.
Yeah. And they'll move on. Yeah.
They'll move on. Yeah. They had fun with it. But where is the music in all of that? Where's the actual depth to any substance to all of it?
Right.
This was the Beatdown.
Where we didn't really beat down as much.
No, we ought to also provide a little insight and thought. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry guys, you guys suck. If y'all want, y'all can talk about your album and the Reno Flow and stuff.
Yeah, that's also an example of a different listening community, a very dedicated listening community. Like,
so Reno Flow
or like international in music, where like it's basically the screamo scene existing online, where exchange of ideas happen, collabs happen, and like people put out their music, they discuss music, and stuff like that. That's a great thing that they have. Like it's a very tight knit community in that sense, and they're very accepting and.
That's one thing
that's
realize
clear.
Realize about particularly the screamo community. A lot of them are mature audiences, not just in sense of listening that they're more mature listeners, but they also, in general, they have more mature opinions about music. Because you'll find that to be true in cases of a lot of music that's like very deep underground, because you kind of end up reaching there only after you've went through a lot of shit.
Right. So, right.
That's
understandable.
The kind of audience you find is a little more mature when it comes to listening to music. They're not ignorant about a lot of things that you'll find the most common metal or rock fan to be ignorant about.
Right. I think but the more you listen, the more mature you get. That's a given. I really wanted to discuss this, like this relationship between having a good ear and being a good listener and being a good musician. Like, what's the relationship between these two? Like, what I've observed so far is that whatever bands that I look up to and I really enjoy or I think are unique are also, they tend to be really good listeners who have a great ear.
Yeah. They know their shit.
Yeah. Do you think that's like a prerequisite for being a great artist, or like to get to that point?
I think
basically,
it's a prerequisite for having a great culture. And if you have great culture, you can make better music. If your culture itself is very nascent and very, very primitive, then you will make very simple music. Like, it's like, say you go to Indore, for example. What would a typical Indori band play?
I've heard that band. I have forgotten.
So they
Kapur's from Indore, no?
I forgot that.
Elemental.
Yeah.
So Elemental's like kind of the band that Indore has. And Elemental's, what do you call, idol, so to speak, is Gutslit. So they are the Indori Gutslit in a way. So Indore's understanding of metal is now shaped by who Elemental are. And see, so your overall, like my point being that the deeper that you listen is a byproduct of the culture you're in. So if you are already in a culture that has 20 years of listenership, then it helps. Achha. But if your Indore is like maybe 3 years into metal, like that way, so it'll be still very nascent and it'll not be as nuanced or as, deep as you would probably gauge it to be. But it might be very pure in the sense that it is just like, if you look at Elemental, okay, fine. It might seem like mindless, mosh music. But at the same time, they have an intensity. Like, they're fucking raging when they go live. Achha. And Vrishank saw that when, Death by Funk I played alongside Elemental.
Was it you who told that ki Vrishank said something about Elemental that they sound like this band, but
they have no idea. Yeah. See, that's the cool part. So, Vrishank pulled up a couple of references, like grindcore references. Like, I think they sound like these two bands. And Elemental guys are like obviously not going to know who they are, but it's because it's so raw. So you have that side of things as well, like where it comes from a place where there is no comparison, or you have no peer, but you still end up making something that's so raw and so fun, because they're a fun band live ultimately when it comes to an audience perspective that is looking for something heavy and mosh, yes, I want something that is energetic. So they deliver that energy. So they fulfill that promise. They kind of, if I dare say, they kind of pull the Gutslit aesthetic off and they make it more energetic.
That's very well put, actually.
Yeah, they do it. But obviously, Gutslit's turned into, in defense of Gutslit, they have turned into much more, they are much more well-defined than what they used to be. Because thanks to Kaushal's lyric writing and he's putting some shape to the order of things. Which is why I think the new Gutslit album really, really is great.
I also think that songwriting on the new Gutslit album is much better than the
previous efforts. I think
effort was just like slam death metal, and the
like I said, it's gotten more evolved.
Right.
So, but then at the same time, just because Elemental is not evolved doesn't make it a shitty band either.
Yeah.
I mean, it might not be our taste. It might be too simplistic for us. But it's still a great band for maybe a general audience to enjoy live. So,
no, but then my point is that you to make a certain kind of music, you have to know your music, right?
True.
Maybe it helps if you have a good listenership to perfect your craft.
Right.
Maybe that's an imperative to make. If you want to make difference in terms of what music you're putting out,
right?
Like, I imagine what kind of a library Mike Kinsella must be when when he's making his music.
But
right?
I feel once again, whenever we pull a reference from the West, you can't deny but the fact that they come through a geographically local legacy of say 20-30 years of people doing music and bands around them, and it makes a huge buttload of difference.
Okay,
I mean, we exist because there has been 15 years of band music before us. I'm saying 15 because I would consider the start of the 2000s as a great start of the era of band music.
Right.
Like, college rock band used to be a thing.
Yeah.
Then you have independence rock and campus rock, whatever. And it just
those bands
evolves.
used to represent their colleges and
right. It originally began there, but it became so much more than just that.
Yeah.
Which was great. And now and we have reached the point where we are right now, where we can nitpick and choose something so specific as say post-hardcore or crust punk.
Yeah.
Like, we can actually do that right now in the age of the internet in 2018. Also taking into consideration the legacy that we have left behind.
No, but then you look at someone like, say, Deepak making Rat King in that time.
Of course. Of course, there will be guys who will defy. There will be guys.
I mean, he must have had a great year, right? To think
True.
and make that kind of music.
True.
I mean, when I talked to him about Rat King, he was like, we were basically just making soundtracks to like B-grade horror films that we watched or we liked or something like that. But I mean, my point is ki, yeah, like having a culture already there for you to make that music and have that like year crafted is necessary, but you find this kind of a thing as well. Like Deepak's been doing this for so many years, and I cannot think of a bad project that Deepak has had.
True. Absolutely agreed. I'm wearing a Shepherd t-shirt right now as I speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, absolutely with you on that. I think that also stems from what you want as a musician.
Right.
So if you're in it for the performance and for the, the intensity of it, that's probably what your band will also chase.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're in it for the songwriting, maybe that's what your band will chase.
Yeah.
And that's when maybe you will want to be a more nuanced listener than your average listener. And that's what it all comes down to, I guess, at the end of the day. Like, what do you want from your music as a musician, as a band? And sure, I mean, listening to a lot of music will help you open more doors. It'll help you break new grounds for sure. Because it makes False Flag stand out from the rest of the, lot. Because there are lots of new bands that might crop up even today, but they will still be... exactly. They will sound terrible. Or they will not know what they're doing. They're just like fucking winging it. And they're like, ye aisa lagta hai, isliye aisa kuch karte hai. Like, aisa hota hai metal mein kuch, to isliye karte hain. Like, chal, we like our 5 basic, like, we like Pantera, we like Slipknot, we like, I don't know, Slayer or something. And ye sab log, but all of this is the same only. That is the perspective. They don't realize that even these bands are very different.
Right.
And they come from very different, lineage and ideas and like, styles and attitudes and a lot of things. Personalities even. So, yeah, I think that's ultimately what it all boils down to. What do you want to do as a band? And
let's throw this out as an open question to listeners.
I mean,
please decide.
I mean, like we need more people to want to do band music, of course, for sure. And as long as your reasons are strong enough, I guess it will happen.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. All right, moving into our next segment. This one's called Notes from the Underground. So this is one band per person, ideally an unknown, new, or both. The band being the band must have a recent release, which will be the anchor of reference for the sake of discussion, and just like take a couple of minutes to summarize and describe what makes this band so great and worthy of your attention. So go for it, Shaunak.
Yep. So the band that I discovered, this band I discovered in March. Okay, there's this band. This is a new band called Meth. Full stop. Like Meth. That's their name. It's a 6-piece band from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
And so all of the members in Meth, I believe, have been in like some other like prolific bands before, especially their main man Seb Alvarez, who has an amazing catalog of like bands and solo projects that he has been a part of. Like, it's like one of those screamo gods kind of a thing. Where like everything that they release is just great. So Meth is one of those things. They have this new record, a 5-track EP out called I Love You by Meth. So recent developments in screamo emo violence scene has been an intermingling of 90s metallic hardcore, sass and grind and screamo type of music. Like bands like CU Space Cowboy, Vane and all can be like they can be called as the starters of this. So Meth is a band in that same soundscape. But what makes Meth different is that it's extremely dark. Like, you don't really get screamo this dark. Okay, and the best part about them is that they are doing something unique in the sense they are mixing like black industrial, like really harsh power electronics with like 90s metalcore infused screamo.
Okay.
And it just creates this one cathartic like wall of sound that I mean, it's amazing. I knew that when I heard that EP that this was going to be my favorite EP for this year. It still is. You have to check it out. There's extended sections where it's just a really dark, gritty, suffocating atmosphere being built up, and then you will be like met with spastic as fuck breakdowns and really, really dissonant chords, and yeah, it's amazing. Please go check it out. Meth from Chicago, Illinois.
So the band I want to talk about is called X Limiter. They are a technical death metal band from Canada, but they're not something that you would expect from a technical death metal band, unless you have been listening to the genre for many years and you're aware of the band Demilech. The Finnish band that are known for their extremely weird melodic ideas and extremely weird rhythmic structures, and a vocalist who sounds like a frog.
Yeah.
And they played Bangalore recently.
Oh yeah, and they played Bangalore
Recent, but
3 years ago, I think.
it's been more than 2 years, I think.
What?
Two Decembers ago, I think.
Yeah, I think it was 2015 or 2016. I remember. That's what I remember. And yeah, I don't know if they'll ever come back to India, but they Demilech is a band that you should check out. But the topic, the band that I'm talking about is X Limiter, which are heavily influenced by Demilech, but they have their own identity, their own little melodic flavor. But some of the components are, intact. For example, the frantic, twisted, cryptic riffing, where it just feels like it's going all. It feels like it's going all over the place, but it doesn't really. It makes you feel like you're in some sort of a riff maze where your brain is trying to figure out where one riff is going, but it suddenly takes another turn. Okay. That kind of thing. And it makes for a very interesting listen because it's not completely inaccessible, but it's definitely not something very conventional or very standard that you would be able to predict where it's going next. So yeah, X Limiters, It Weighed Itself in Silver is the name of the album. Check it out, definitely.
It is one of the strongest albums to come out from a hardcore stable this year. The Armed Only Love. So they're essentially very chaotic like hardcore, but they have a lot of synthesizer and distorted chiptune parts that meld in. And they have 3 vocalists. So they have a female vocalist, they have 2 male vocalists. They have at least 3 guitarists working on it. And it is, in all of its weirdness, it still has melodies and hooks. And it has a re-listenable factor to it that makes you keep going back to discover something new. And it's just so fresh and out there. And so colorful musically, like its palette goes from the extremely dissonant to the extremely melodic, and like I said, it's got a lot of catchy hooks and stuff on it. And like the singles that they put out, especially Luxury Pleasures, it's an amazing fucking single, and like that's what drew me in, and I checked out the entire album. In fact, the Rain of Low group, since you introduced me to them, and that's where the admin had shared the album, and suggested that everyone check it out. And I was like blown away. I was like, fuck, this is amazing. And I think it makes complete sense given the background of how, so Vrishang says that it's a joke, but I think it's like a half joke. You never know. So Ben Kohler from Converge was part of the album. Basically, he recorded the drums on the album. And he claims that he was tricked into recording the album by saying that these are Converge songs. Which is fucking hilarious. And you can hear the album and you will be convinced that that is the case. It is relentless. Like he is pounding away on the kit. And like sometimes, you really have to wonder like, how does this all make sense? But it does, because they can be extremely gentle. The dynamics on the album is so varied and so like I said, it's so brutal and yet so beautiful and elegant. And they have pulled it off, man. I mean, hats off to the band. It's fucking amazing. I think you should definitely check it out. So yeah, that's pretty much it from us this time. Thanks for listening to us. This is Haramcore Inc. You can follow us
around
on FB.com.
All of us individually. I'm Siddharth.
I'm Shaunak.
Just make sure you're not, coming too close. Otherwise, I might give you a hip toss, judo hip toss. I'm learning that. So yeah, if you're following me, just
oh yeah, he's a mixed martial arts guy.
yeah,
now.
just kidding. I don't know shit about how to fight yet. So give me a few years, then I'll probably beat you up.
Yeah, right now he just does the wax on wax off thing.
I don't understand why you have to threaten the audience on your first episode. Now, get your tactics right.
It's cool. Feel threatened. Fuck you guys. So yeah, that's pretty much it from us guys here at Haramcore Inc. Stay tuned, subscribe, follow us, share this shit. Have fun listening and check, and please check out all the shit that we've talked about.
Excluding the beatdown one.
Excluding that.
No, you can check that out as well, because have opinions of your own as well.
Yeah,
please have opinions of your own.
Yes.
And
please listen to stuff actively to have those opinions.
Yeah, that's true. And please be okay with having opinions, please. Yeah. So
and yes, most importantly, do talk about music, and you can totally approach us to talk about we can we'll eventually, we're aiming at building some kind of community through this, so we can share a lot of good music, including our own music. So please watch out for some upcoming shit. Obviously there's the Pacifist debut EP that's on the cards, that's coming up soon, and there's a release that False Flag shall treat you all with. Yes.
And
in a couple of months.
And even Death by Fungi is planning something to do collectively.
Yes. It's going to be a grand gesture.
Yes. So we are planning some shit. So you should not definitely miss out on any of the things that we have to say or offer. And this would be a great space to, watch it all,
happen.
Come together. So that's pretty much it. Stay Haramcore.